Good evening and welcome to the show. My name is John Jacob Kiri. Now, this show goes beyond the headlines to interrogate it. What you see, what you hear, yet you do not understand. We break it into palatable levels so that you can understand. This is Beyond the Headlines. Concerns are rife amongst employers that the kind of graduates we're churning out of universities are half-baked, are not prepared to enter into the job market and to do the work effectively. Somebody says university graduates know how the work is done, but then they don't know how to do the work. And those will be forming the basis of a conversation tonight. Let me introduce my panel. Very quickly, I've got Tony Nasirembe, who is a HR consultant and, of course, also a career consultant. You're very much welcome. Also, Virginia Moya, who is a certified career coach, as well as practicing HR. You're very much welcome.
Thank you.
And Dr. Edwin Nyudo, a senior lecturer at the University of Nairobi. Very much welcome.
Thank you.
But of course, before we get into the conversation, let me bring in Jen into this conversation again to tell us how you can participate in this show. Jen.
Thank you, Jacob. A warm welcome once again to Beyond the Headlines. I'm Jane Wamboi. As you may know by now, today we'll be talking about the competence of our Kenyan graduates and really put into question the quality of education that is being offered in our institutions of higher learning. The job market as we know it today is very competitive, very dynamic, and indeed demanding. And having all that in mind, we're asking you today, do you think our Kenyan graduates are well suited for the job market? We would like to hear from you, so go ahead and talk to us. Our SMS line is 20511. On Twitter, our handle is BGH_KBC. The hashtag to use is Kenyan Graduates. Then you can also find us on Facebook. Our page is Beyond the Headlines. Alternatively, you could send us an email. Our address is bgh@kbc.co.ke. Do leave your name and location. We'll be sampling your views and comments as we go on with the show. But for now, let's get into the conversation. Over to you, Jacob.
Thank you very much, Jen, for that heads up on how our viewers can participate in this conversation. But let's begin this conversation. And I want to start from you. Do you share these concerns that Kenyan universities are churning out half-baked graduates?
I don't believe they are half-baked. I believe that they are 20% enabled. That's my thesis.
20% enabled?
Yeah.
And you don't believe they're half-baked?
No.
Why don't you believe they are?
Because, you see, we have to take this conversation from four fronts. The front of the system that brings education to the people, the system that employs the people whom we have passed through the education, the person who takes the education, and the person who employs this person. So we have to look at it from the four perspectives. My view is that each one of those four areas, or four persons, or four groups, have a responsibility to align what we're talking about, that we must be able to do the work we are supposed to do.
Just so we get this out of the way, are you alluding that the job demands or the market demands are not in tandem with what is being what is being taught?
Yes, there is a disconnect, in my view.
And we'll be getting to that, Virginia. Very quickly, do you share the same sentiments being shared that universities are churning out half-baked graduates?
I want to first of all just agree a little bit with what Tony has said, that it's a combination of many factors. We, as a HR practitioner, I've met candidates who are quite good and they come in and hit the road running. I have met those that even the basics, like even writing a professional email, even just the basics, they cannot do. Which even from the interview, from even doing a proper interview.
From the people you've interacted with?
Yes.
Place it in percentage.
Yes.
The people who can do the work and those who cannot, to 100%.
I can say 50-50.
50-50,
yes.
All right.
And as he's saying, we cannot completely blame maybe the university, because it's a combination of many factors. As an employer, are we patient enough also with these employees that come into our workplaces?
Why be patient with the person who's been trained?
I'm just thinking that what is the purpose of the university? Basically is to give the knowledge. of the job, then me as the employer, I give the skills for the job, because the theory is very different from practical. I know when I did my HR in theory, when you talked about performance management, appraisal, it did not make sense. But now when I went into the job market, I did it practically, and now I understand it more. Yes.
All right.
Just to be fair also.
Yes.
Yes.
Dr. Edwin, you're a lecturer yourself. You have interacted with them. And I don't want to go to the question of whether you are proud of you, the students you're teaching, but then because you have been in this practice for several years, do you think we're churning out half-baked graduates from universities?
I think I wouldn't have a blanket, condemnation of all graduates from all universities being half-baked. I think that is an unfortunate generalization because from the different universities, from the different departments, different specializations, the scenarios are completely different. But if you are comfortable to say that university graduates are half-baked, that's for you to say. But from the practice on the ground, the realities are there are some graduates, who are very well prepared, and there are others who are not as well prepared. And then this varies from one department to the other, from one university to the other.
You alluded about the disconnect between what is being taught in school vis-a-vis what the employers expect. But first, let's interrogate the curriculum that we have today, the 844 system, and looking at the whole curriculum. Education has been made to look as if it is robotic. You study to pass the exam and not to have the skills.
Jacob, you've hit the nail on the head. We celebrate examination. We celebrate the kids who pass exams. So actually we teach for examinations. We do not teach for knowledge. And because we do not teach for knowledge, our concentration therefore goes to how can I pass? And hence the question that some people even want to find shortcuts to pass exams. Yet the 20% I talked about is about total education. It's not about the 20%. 20% is about IQ. The 80% is about emotional intelligence, right? Now we're not combining the two, so there is a disconnect. Once we don't combine the two, we just run one track of someone being sharp in class. You'll find even in a classroom of 25 kids, every parent of that kid wants their child to be number one. And that's an impossibility. Not every child in the class will be number one in a classroom of 25 children. You get? So we need to come out of that thinking and integrate our thinking. We must combine IQ with EQ. That's intellectual quotient and emotional intelligence.
Fantastic. Do you find our education system so theoretical as compared to practicalities? Because some of these things the students are being taught in school, you can never apply them anywhere.
I think that is the case. Sometimes what is taught in school is not very practical, and maybe it's an issue in terms of research and looking at what the job market wants, and maybe the universities then aligning themselves to that. And I talk here both as a HR practitioner and also as a parent. We celebrate as a country, as Tony is saying, exams. Yesterday, the whole nation came to a standstill, John, because of the Form 4 results. The Ministry of Education, all the parents, the schools, I don't even think they were learning yesterday. They were just busy looking at the TV. So what does that tell us? We look at merit, at performance. And that's why sometimes, and I'm sorry to say this, when I am employing, sometimes I don't employ A students because of the attitude. The attitude is I've done so well.
On top of it, they have an attitude that I got an A, so what are you telling me?
Even in university, I had an upper class. So I'll come and I'll do this. So when they come into the job market, sometimes when I'm looking at the CV, sometimes I don't pick them because of my experience in the past. The attitude is so wrong that I'll come there and I'll do this, I'll do this. But when they come in, even they themselves get frustrated. So I think it's something that we need to look at even as a nation, our culture. Yes.
All right. Our education system, again, trying to get into the curriculum, teaches us to cram, get your head loaded, do the exam, and forget what it was that you were studying later. Your sentiments.
I think that could be that could be the case in primary school, in secondary school, but definitely not at the university. haven't come across many cases of cramming and trying to regurgitate ideas that were picked from books without understanding and trying to apply, because essentially university education is not just a question of reciting what you've learned, but it's a question of integrating knowledge into your mind and then, applying that knowledge.
Yes.
And normally university curriculum and university examinations will be looking into your full understanding of the content, not just a question of reciting facts.
This society regards the people who don't excel well in exams, like the results that were released by the Ministry of Education, KCSE 2015. This society regards people who did not excel in exams as failures, and these people again are not even admitted into universities. They are told to go to tertiary institutions, and of course again there is also another perception regards tertiary institutions, or what you would call vocational colleges. But most importantly, do you feel like our higher learning institutions are leaving out a talent and are much focusing on this aspect of excelling?
You said it well, Jacob. You see, what is fail? You see, when you give somebody an arithmetical problem to add 2 to 2, and he gets 3, and then you call that fail, that's very simplistic approach to fail. The society, therefore, is influencing the thinking, and it's the culture we are developing which is not competitive with the developed world. Our thinking should be to how well a person integrates into the economy and makes a contribution to promote the economy, right? Yeah. But when we just look at school performance and then promote that, that if someone therefore has done very well in school, therefore he has succeeded, that's a very simplistic thing. Yeah.
Our preparation of me going to primary school, going into secondary school, then going into university, do you find a problem in the way we are transitioning students from one level to another and preparing them particularly for the job market?
I think so, because as I said earlier, there is so much emphasis on the high school. And as we saw yesterday, how about the university education? I'm seeing all technical colleges being made into universities.
Yes.
And I'm asking myself, that person who you're calling a fail, and I'm calling it a fail in quotes really, because that is not a fail, they still have an opportunity to make a contribution, as they say, towards the economy. If somebody does not get the A and is not able to go to university, they should be able to go to a technical college, do a 1-year diploma or a 1-year certificate in, even if it's engineering or IT, or they can make a table, whatever, and make a significant contribution. And we've seen such a shift from the 4-year university degrees, and people are doing well, even in businesses. Even some have not even gone to university. They're just finishing Form 4, and they're able to innovate and create. Are our university or our educational institutions, even our curriculum, are they enabling our young people to be innovative and creative? That's the question we need to be asking even in this show today. Yes.
Do our universities have such a curriculum where, where you're teaching people self-employment, other than, because there's so much a focus on white-collar jobs, and you have educated these people for about, 12 or 16 years for that matter, they've been in school, but then they're still reliant on being employed on a white-collar job. Our curriculums really suited towards having them as self-employed graduates.
I think for the last 20 years or so, entrepreneurship education has been integrated into a lot of areas in the curriculum. For example, when we started the journalism course at the University of Nairobi, where I work, for the last 10 years, entrepreneurship is taught right from first year, because we realize the fact that a lot of the graduates are not going to be able to be absorbed directly into the main media, but they would have to find a way in which they integrate their knowledge into their own survival and start perhaps even jobs and institutions of their own. But I think one more fact that we haven't really addressed is how come that a student graduates from high school and gets, for example, to study medicine or to study law or to study journalism, what was the motivating factor right from the start? Who pushed this particular individual to be trying the cause that they are doing? You know, because a lot of times when there is a disconnect, is that there are people who are in the wrong career, in the wrong cause, and there are very many cases of parents pushing, their students or their children rather, into the wrong causes, perhaps for prestige reasons.
You can't imagine a doctor who doesn't have a passion.
You know, and there are many cases of students who are studying not because they have the passion for it, not because that they have the interest, but because they were pushed there. And there are cases where children achieve their degrees, go and give it to their dads and tell them, Dad, that is your degree.
Now let me go
Now
and start my own life.
I can go into my life and do my own thing. I think that's an important point to try to interrogate. You know, because essentially, why does a particular individual choose a career?
Yeah.
What are the motivating factors? I think that to me is a very fundamental.
Yes, very good.
I think Edwin is bringing out a very important point here. Yeah. Do we have any career guidance to these people vis-a-vis the economy? What is our economy like?
But you see, there are 5 major careers that we must concentrate: doctor, pilot, lawyer. What is the other one? Just have you programmed 5 of them.
Yes, but so we need people like Virginia here to counsel these people. Which career suits you best? And what are the prospects of you succeeding? The question is succeeding in life. Not succeeding in exams, succeeding in life. And what is going to be your contribution in Kenya, for example, or in East Africa, when you're looking at the wider economy of this region. And that's the way we should be thinking. But you know, for us, we are so conditioned to be thinking, I must pass exams. And not just pass, get an A. Yes. So what? After getting an A, then what? You know, there's this scholar, Daniel Coleman, who says when you get an A, it enables you 20%.
Yes.
The 80% is how you are going to integrate with the other people, how you're going to think and influence the thinking of the other people.
Yes.
And it's through this teamwork that we succeed. You know, one person can't succeed in life. No, you need, and that's why even God arranged that people get married, so that the two of you can make a home. Yeah? Yeah. Now, if you are just alone and you're saying you're going to succeed, you'll succeed on a very narrow path, but not building the economy in the way we know it.
Fantastic.
You get?
You're a career coach here. Let's try and break this down on the guidance that you are likely to give a person who's choosing a career.
Yes.
And most importantly, concentrate on the aspect of, is education just about the financial gain after my course?
One of the things I look at as a career coach is 2 things. One, you have to have passion, and you have to have talent. So we look at your passion, your talent, and your personality. Okay? Because at the end of the day, you don't want to finish university and you're going to a job. I believe, John, what you're doing it very passionately, because it's not a job, it is work. Yeah. So you're enjoying it. You can even be called into the studio at 3 a.m. and hopefully come, because it's not a job. That's what we are looking for. Fulfillment all round. Yeah. And also it will affect other areas. It will affect your family. It will affect, of course, your finances, because when you do something you like, John, it comes easily. For me, HR, I enjoy interacting with people. It comes easily. I don't struggle. For other people, they might be the accountant who sits at the corner in the office, don't talk to anybody, and they enjoy numbers. So it has to both be a balance of financial gain and also fulfillment and passion in life. Yeah. I had a parent the other day, I was just coaching the daughter, and she was saying, all of us have been A students. My husband is this, I am this, and we have all been A students. Why can't he just hack it? Why can't she, she was a girl, why can't she just get an A? Yeah. And I just told her, wait a minute. Because you're a doctor or a lawyer, it doesn't mean your daughter has to become a doctor or a lawyer. So let us just go through with her, and there are certain processes we go through, and just see what is it that they're passionate about, what is it that they love. And actually, at the end of the day, they might even end up in the arts, which is just as good.
All right.
So it's just looking at the balance.
Before we take a breather,
Yes.
Edwin, do you find students, because I mean you are in the lecture halls, do you find students who have a warped idea of what is ahead of them?
I think I would say that I have come across many situations where I have students who are in the wrong career. You know, because I would look at them and find out, you know, try to wonder, how is this person going to operate, for example, as an interviewer?
Yeah.
If you have no conversational skills and you are trying to do broadcast journalism, then I ask myself, would this person operate as a camera person? They have no interest whatsoever in equipment operations. Then where would you put this kind of person?
Some of them don't even watch news and they want to be journalists.
You know, so you know, there is that disconnect between, you know, just what she explained, the talent of the individual, and their passion, their capacity to perform the job they are preparing themselves for, and then the realities of the job in the job market.
All right.
You
All
know,
right.
so
We want to take a short breather. When we come back, of course, we'll be speaking about institutions. We have blamed the students enough, but then we'll be talking about the institutions, as well as we'll also be looking at the credibility of examinations, because that is also very important. But then all of you appear to agree there is a problem with the education system, but then none of you agrees we have half-baked workers. Let's take a short breather. We'll be back in a while. And welcome back. You're watching Beyond the Headlines. Tonight we are interrogating the competence of university graduates and, of course, the response to the job market. Before we do that, Jen is on the other end, and I'm sure your reactions came in thick and fast. Let's join Jen.
Yes, from the feedback that we're getting, there clearly is an underlying problem when it comes to the competence of the graduates that are being sent into the job market. Remember, we asked you, do you think that our graduates are well suited to join the job market? Thank you very much for your feedback. Just to sample a few of them, we have Matiba Kennedy on Twitter. 75% of university students study irrelevant courses. Priority when it comes to choosing the courses that we choose in campus. We also have Roswell Alexander on Twitter. The theory is on Google. We need skills. All right. We also have Minor Laser on Twitter. These universities make millions out of parallel programs. We can see double standards coming out from your feedback, but keep them coming in. We will be able to tackle them as they come in. 20511 is our SMS line on Twitter. The hashtag is competence of our graduates. Our handle is BGH_KBC, and on Facebook, the page is Beyond the Headlines. Over to you, Jacob.
Fantastic, Jerry. I mean, they're very, what you would call responses that are very wild, but then we'll try, and you know, for the three, we'll try each one of you reacts to them. And one of them being studying of relevant courses. 70% are studying irrelevant courses. And I mean, who does a degree in anthropology? Does it offer a job anymore?
Jacob, you
Yes.
know, the viewers listening to Virginia will get the point.
Yeah.
They need to be streamlined into what actually is their passion. Yes? Because irrelevance is in the mind of what other people think. Irrelevance is not in you. But you need help. You need help to see that there will be value in what you aspire to do.
But is it true that there are courses, you know, that are past time? They've been overtaken by events?
I don't believe so. I don't believe there's any course right now that is past time. What is past time is the way we have streamlined ourselves. We are operating in silos, where you have the academia operating in a utopia. And then you have industry, which is believing that this academia is going to bring to us the Messiah.
The silver bullet.
You know, that's the thing, right? and so there is need for integration. You need to integrative thinking, where the job market, which is driving the economy, has to integrate with the talent developer, which is the university. The talent developer has to zero into what actually is required so that we teach the right material. Then the child who is taking education needs to be guided. Which of these, because it's fast and running, which lane do you take so that you can actually make a contribution and take advantage of the opportunities which are available. And that's where the disconnect is, that we are not talking together. There has to be a partnership between industry and academia. And there has to be a conversation between the two and the person.
But how many industry captains, again, want to invest in education and perhaps even go to their students and tell them, yes, that there's expectations of a job market. And we'll be trying to get to that later. But then what is coming out there is that our education system is much more theoretical, just like we had said, as compared to what you would say are the skills of how to do the job. And like we said, there's this statement that university graduates know how the work is done, but they don't know how to do the work.
Yes. John, I've been fortunate enough to be educated both in Kenya and also in the UK.
All right.
And if you look at, especially in Europe, let me talk about Europe because that's where I have an experience with. They are moving away from the 4-year, 5-year. Of course, there are courses that require that, maybe medicine, dentistry, law.
Yes.
But they are moving away from that and looking at certification. A good example here in Kenya would be the CPA, which is for accounting, and hopefully it is bringing us the people we need who have that specific knowledge in accounting. So I'm looking at also other areas, looking at more of certification. Even the university may be moving from the 4-year, because as I believe, and I believe, but maybe I disagree a little bit with what Tony said, that there are courses that are irrelevant. They are
irrelevant, totally.
Yes, they are 4-year courses, the Bachelor of Arts and the others. That
in anthropology.
And maybe they are not completely irrelevant as a course, but are they integrating what the market wants? Have they redone their curriculum?
And
are
also
they
bringing
doing
the aspect
research?
of technology.
Yes. Is there research? Are there the old, an IT lecturer was telling me the other day when she walked into an IT lab in one of the top universities here, she got shocked because what she knows is what is top of the range is not there in the labs, in the computer labs in the university. So they are using the old computers to a market who will come. And me as HR, I'll expect them to go into the IT department and hit the road running. So we need to move away from maybe the 4-year, the 5-year courses and go into more of certification, so that if it's then IT, you're being certified stage by stage. You're doing a 6-month course, another 6-month course, another 6-month course, which you can do. That also the employers then we come in and also support that. As he said, it is a partnership between both the industry and also the education.
IT experts who don't know what Microsoft Word is.
I think I would agree with my two colleagues, but also add that partnership should start right from the curriculum design, right from when you are forming that curriculum. And for the ideal situation.
Should be multi-sectoral.
The ideal situation is when you engage the employer. But, you research the market and find out what are the skills that are needed in, for example, journalism. What exactly needs to, what are you looking for? So that by the end of the 4-year, I should be able to anticipate that this potential employee is going to require A, B, C, D. And so that I get from the industry. When it comes to delivering to the training, industry also needs to engage. There are people who need to be coming in as adjunct professors, adjunct lecturers, people from industry who are integrating the skills. And by the way, when you do it like that, you can never, ever fail. Because that's exactly what universities should be doing. And I can tell you that there are some departments who insist on doing that. There are some departments who ensure that they have a certain percentage of lecturers who are coming directly from the industry.
I wanted to, before we take the views of Kenyans regards what we're talking about here, I want you to talk about prior degrees, because the issues have been our efforts to try and increase access to education have had a negative effect of compromising on the quality of education.
Well, that's a rather sensitive topic to touch, because it's a fact that I think there are times when the parallel degrees, the parallel students have been recruited without considering the available space and available resources. And that, to an extent, has gone on to dilute the quality of education. That, I think everybody knows. There are many cases of too many students being cramped into very little spaces, into sometimes in some universities, courses actually being started by lecturers who have no capacity to be teaching them. You find people crossing over from one department and coming into the other because now this is the kind of course which the market wants. But that university didn't have the capacity. But they will be looking for a way in which they will be attracting, and there are many, many cases of people who are teaching courses they have no capacity to teach.
All right. Yeah. And I'll allow you to react on the parallel degrees as well as what he has talked about, the quality of education, particularly being offered by lecturers. But then first, let's see what Kenyans are saying regards the topic you're having tonight. And Nguri Wycliffe is in the field.
The specific issue that we are delving into is, are we producing half-baked graduates?
The problem is, what is our initiative as students? Because you find when you are through with your high school, you're going to the university not to pursue what you want, but you've been called to do something. Some of us go there to do things that you're not interested in. So I think when you go there and your interest is not maybe in that field, you don't grasp anything. So you're just forced to pass exams and stuff. So when you go out there, you have nothing.
It starts from the roots. Since you're young, you're told, do this, go do all these subjects. You don't know why. You don't even know what you like. So you're taught everything. Then you're told, now choose when you're already old and you're confused.
The students themselves, instead of taking the knowledge, they may become too lazy to read and later on only prepare for exams to pass, but not get prepared for the time after school.
Many employers nowadays are complaining that some of us are not up to par, or that we don't have the skills that are required for, say, the industry. But you find that they themselves haven't put enough effort in making sure that they take that group that they really want. These advertisements for jobs, you see there are requirements. You need to have 2 years experience, 10 years experience. So you're wondering, you're just out of school. You've not been employed anywhere. So where are you supposed to get that experience from? If every company wants someone who is experienced, they're the ones to make you get that experience. So if they have to raise their standards, they should also consider that if they raise their standards too much, we can't reach it.
I would like to end at that particular high note and hand it over to you so that you can continue with the discussion.
Those are students, and of course they have their sentiments, what really they think is ailing the education section, most importantly why they think we are churning out half-baked journalists. But then there's something that came up that I want you to pick up, of course a reaction from that the requirements by the employer are explosive and very inconsiderate.
I'm not quite sure whether that is an accurate observation.
5 years
You see,
experience from a fresh graduate.
The employer is doing a business,
Yeah.
right? And he would like to have people to support him succeed in that business.
Yes.
So the employer has an agenda. Employer has a strategic plan, and he wants skills. He wants talent to help into this. So it's not exploitation of the employer. It's that, and I think Virginia said this, the employer has not gotten the patience to bring in the person and develop that person into the culture of the corporate. You see, the corporate culture requires this, and that. So the individual comes in from the university. He has passed the university education, and the employer expects that this person will sit in and run with the job.
Yeah.
The employer forgets one thing. that this individual needs to get an orientation of the organization, then be inducted into how the job is
Into
done.
the system.
Yes. The employer is always too quick to ensure that the person is in, and too impatient to take the person through the job, how the job is done. And many employers actually will let the person do the job within 1 week. 1 week is absolutely insufficient. You need minimum 6 months to take the person through the job. And even after the 6 months, you need somebody you call a buddy who holds that person's hand.
Are you saying then that the problem could not be half-baked journalists, but the employer lacking that more patience to induct them into the system?
You hit it. You hit it on the head, yeah.
All right, fantastic. Something that also came up is the lack of personal initiative, and I don't know how you address that as a career coach. That some of us students are getting out of university non-prepared for the job market, one because they lack personal initiative or are in to please the mother or the father or friend or peers.
Personal initiative, when I look at it, I see most of what the graduates that are coming out don't want also to, a little sacrifice. Some of us, when we graduated, you worked for a while without even getting a salary. So you were willing to work voluntarily, you were willing to work as an intern for quite a while.
I did it for 3 years.
Just exactly, without really a salary. I was a graduate from the UK and came here and I was earning 9,000 for my first job. And I was comfortable with that because I wanted to gain the experience. And once I had settled in and gained the experience, now I could fly. So it's about personal initiative. I'll also just pick on what Tony said also. The employer is not patient because it's a business. So I don't have time as a HR manager to become a kindergarten where you come, I'm training you basics. And the patience is there. And maybe we need to grow the patience as an employer to support our younger people so that they come in. But they have to also be ready not to ask for the big salaries when they come in. I can pay them a little, something little that they can have some lunch and transport, but then I can train them. But they won't come in and they want a big salary and they're not able to hit the road running.
All right.
Yes.
Facilitation in universities.
Yes.
A student talked about that. You are in a journalism class. There are no cameras. There are no microphones. And in fact, some of them have become so witty, they buy camcorders. Yet you expect that person to go and operate a professional camera in a studio. Doesn't that compromise on education?
Well, perhaps before I get to that point, I would also have wanted to chip in on what Virginia has just said. I think the student expectations as they are leaving the university sometimes are inconsistent with the expectations in the job market. The students, for example, who are graduating expect, for example, when they join a broadcasting organization like this, they expect to come in and operate as producers or directors. But the reality is, perhaps even if they haven't had the hands-on practical training, which is now what you are raising, they cannot operate from that level. So they should be comfortable to come in and do the cable pulling. You know, they should be able to come and do the running in production. You know, they must be able, they must understand that the requirements in the job market are very, very different from what they expect. That they should come and actually agree to be a sweeper in a studio, to be setting up, you know, until you get to learn from the very lowest. I know, for example, in the past, in places like Britain, there were no courses in broadcast training, in journalism, for example. People learned from the masters.
All right.
You learned to pull the focus, to be a camera operator. Okay?
All right.
So there is a beginning point. There is a job entry point. And then after that, then you graduate. You know, you grow gradually to the higher levels of employment.
I want us to get into the integrity issue in education. The announced results of 2015 KCSE, about 5,000 of them cheated in that exam. And God forbid, the truth is there might be some really who did not have the results cancelled, but they know what they did. at the end of the day. Now you're looking at these people going into universities to study what? Medicine. How does it compromise on education?
I think of late, John, we've seen a lot of cheating. And even we move a lot away from the students, even in our the adults basically.
Yes.
Even in our political leaders, some of our managers in companies, in the corporate, we've seen a lot of cheating. We've seen a lot of corruption. And so what do we expect out of our children? Because we are doing it. The other day I felt so bad when I saw the research where 40% of the young people were saying there's nothing wrong in gaining wealth
As long
through
as you gain wealth through corruption.
I mean, the end justifies, it justifies it. And I was thinking, it is us. What have they seen? They have seen people in society glorified.
We have socialized them to cheat.
Yes, to cheat. So that is what is happening. So they come into the university, they've gotten an A, which is an illegal A in quotes, and they come in. Of course, they struggle through somehow and get through. These are the same people we're employing. So what do we see? It becomes now corporate. They start cheating in the corporates. They start cheating in the public organizations that they're going to
And
work.
they start making
So as you're
computer
saying,
errors too.
integrity is compromised, not from the bottom up. Actually, it's coming from the top. They're looking up to their parents. That's what their parents are doing. They're looking up to their leaders. That's what they're doing. Unfortunately, yes.
Intellectual dishonesty, the overall output, how does it compromise on the overall output?
Jacob, but there shouldn't be any intellectual dishonesty if the education we are running is legit, and I think it is. If we are running a legitimate curriculum, the person who has cheated downstream cannot go upstream. It won't work. Because if you scored an A and you go to Edwin's class as an A student from SECO, and then you go to his class and he has the parameters for running the first year, second year, third year student. It should eliminate.
Yes.
It should eliminate that, because you see we have the quality assurance.
Yeah.
The university has standards. So cheating can only be allowed if there is a compromise throughout the system. And the corruption is one of the worst systems that we have in our economy, which I think we should change so that we think correctly. And the point I'm making here is quality assurance at every level.
All right. Quality assurance at every level. We want to take a short breather, but of course, continue sending in your comments from the channels that Jane gave you. We'll be sampling them again when we come back from this break. But most importantly, when we come back, we'll be looking at the way forward. But again, the Joint Admission Board is in the dock for, recommending courses to students that are really unfavorable, particularly to them, or they're not even competent to do that particular course. We take a short breather. When we come back, we pick up that. Welcome back. You're watching Beyond the Headlines. We're discussing the competence of university graduates and the response to the job market. Jen is on standby with responses. Jen?
All right. As you can see, there's so many issues that contribute to the quality and competence of the graduates that we send into the market. Is it the question of whether the employer is asking for too much? Is the lecturer doing enough? Or is the student not doing enough and willing to go the extra mile? We asked you, do you think that our graduates are ready or well suited for the job market? Thank you very much for your feedback. And just to sample some more, we have Paul Gasheru on Twitter. We need proactive change in our education system, or we'll continue to lose our best minds to other countries. The question of brain drain again comes in here with losing our best minds. We have Isaac Ndara also on Twitter. Kenyan universities hardly do any research. Who has the time? Again, are our graduates competent enough to join the job market? And maybe our life coach can address some of these issues on brain drain and career coaching. All right, over to you.
Definitely, Jen. And of course, one of the issues that has come up, and I've had this, what you would say, dressed down, particularly by the former Education Cabinet Secretary, Jacob Kaimenyi, telling universities, do research and give us solutions to the problems affecting Kenyans. But today, there's not one landmark research that you can attribute to any university, particularly in the Republic of Kenya. And let me start with Edwin. There's not one attributable research that can be attributed to universities that is addressing the problems that we are going through as a society, particularly in Kenya.
I don't think that I would agree with that. unless you are to interrogate and say there is no research in this particular area, there are many areas in which a lot of research has been done, addressing many different types of problems and situations.
Let's look at something like rapid response to hunger, our issues of food security. There's not one research paper emanating from any university right now on how we can address that one.
Now you see, now you're falling into the research trap yourself.
Yes.
Because for me to authoritatively say that, I would need now to look, to research into whether there are any researches that have addressed that issue. But I cannot stand here and say there is no research that has been done in this area. There are many, by the way, I will tell you this, that there is no university graduate who comes from the university without having undertaken one form of research or the other. Question is, what is the quality of that research? How applicable is it? How relevant is it to the current needs? I will tell you, all the students that I teach do research, and they must do research, and there is no way they can graduate without carrying out one form of research or the other.
The point that I was trying to make, Virginia, other than the thesis that students do before they graduate, associate, places like Michigan University, they'll come up with a study, particularly on relations, or even on perhaps how to deal with the Zika virus or something like that. But we are yet to see one, particularly from our local universities.
I think what needs to happen, as Tony had said earlier, is a partnership between the industry and the universities, so that then the universities are very clear on what the industry is looking for, because there's been such a revolution in terms of the trends that are happening in every area, whether it's technology, whether it's in HR. You know, HR moved from personnel management to HR. So we are and many other industries, even the media has evolved, I mean, greatly. So are the universities, are they in partnership with the industry? And maybe that is something maybe the professor is best placed to answer, but are they actually, and then I think also employers need to also support this research, because you see even in the UK and other countries, they really support research. So you have, if it's the pharmaceutical industry, they're actually really sponsoring research in the pharmaceutical industry. If it's us in the HR, we are also supporting that. So are the employers also, and the people who are in the industry, expecting these students to come out at least, maybe at least 3/4 way baked, because they cannot be 100% baked? Are we also supporting the education system?
All right.
Yes.
I want to bring in the aspect of a joint admission board, because we said we would speak about it, and it stands in the dock for what, quote unquote, misleading students and placing them in courses they're not competent for.
Yes, Jacob, but before I do that, let me respond to what Professor is saying. You see, all these universities are graduating PhDs. You cannot have a PhD without research. So when you're talking about body of knowledge in various areas, this country has a lot of body of knowledge. May it be in engineering, may it be in ICT, may it be in HR.
Is it solution driven?
It's there. It's there. But you see, if you went, say, to the international academia, you'll find that universities do have this research that is impacting industry. For example, in engineering or in medicine or in agriculture. Yes? And that's probably where you are coming from, that Kenya has not publicized itself as such. But as far as research material is concerned, research is there. Otherwise, we will not be graduating these PhDs.
Let's go to the issue of a joint admission board very quickly.
Now, joint admission board is supposedly meant to identify people who should join university in various courses. What has always been intriguing to me, do they have research material, research information, data and information and intelligence to say that we're going to admit so many engineers, so many doctors, so many lawyers, because this country needs that? That joint admission board, I don't think has that intelligence, because they're not, if they have it, they're not sharing it with us. That this country needs so many, and we are short by this much. Where is the gap between what we need and what we have, so that we now want to fill that gap by bringing in the new blood? nobody actually is sharing that information with the public.
All right. Fantastic. I'll give every one of you 30 seconds because we need to wind up on this particular matter. And I know you're scholars, so 30 seconds for each. The way forward.
Well, the way forward for me would be, as I think we've really stated here, for a partnership between industry and the universities. And the partnership needs to come right from the design stage. When you're designing courses, you need to design courses that are informed by research, that are informed by the need. And I think once we do that, and then we now implement that curriculum by using again the industry and then keeping to clearly certified quality standards, we can't go wrong.
Well done.
I think the way forward, as the professor has said, it's a collaboration between, and I'll throw in something, I'll throw in parents also, to also, they are part of this. How are our children choosing the courses that they need to do? So it's a collaboration between the parents, the university in collaboration with the industry, so that then they are teaching what is relevant, and also the universities have to be willing to evolve. Yeah. And also quality. We need to look at quality, John. I know you've just given us 30 seconds, but we need to look at quality of our universities. There are so many satellite universities mushrooming everywhere. Do they have libraries? Do they have what they need to actually educate our children? It's good we have a lot of universities now in Kenya to give every child an opportunity to education, and it's good we have the free primary and the secondary education to some level. Let everyone get the education they need, but it has to be quality.
All right.
Yes.
Fantastic.
We need empirical data so that we can be specifically targeting issues.
Yes.
Because in order for us to succeed, you cannot succeed in the air. You have to succeed on the ground, specifically addressing issues that impact that success.
All right, it's time to actually put a cap on this particular show. Thanks again very much for joining us. And indeed, take homes, align the curriculum with the expectations of the market, but most importantly, again, bring in the employers to actually impact and also do research together with the students. And perhaps then we shall have an impactful education system. Thanks very much for joining us on Beyond the Headlines. My name is John Jacob Curia. Enjoy your evening.